I got an interesting question today about problem solving, and it's really about the spirit of the problem itself versus the problem statement. Um, and I found that a little interesting, and I want to go back to my book, back to People Solve Problems, and kind of talk about two specific skill sets that or capabilities that I write about in separate chapters. And I write about them separately because I think we should treat them separately, but they're very connected at the same time, as all of this is, to be clear. One of those is really writing problem statements. So that's one capability. The other is breaking down the problem. Breaking down a problem, getting focused, getting specific, getting to something you can work with. And so here was a bit of a visual I wanted to use to help talk about this. And the whole point is that we want to get more focused. We want to get more targeted and not solve vague problems. So vague is not the goal. We want specific. And so we have to go through some process to move from vague to specific as we progress through time and through our problem solving efforts. So here's what it often looks like is, we often start with a theme. So that's sort of, I'll say, phase one. I hesitate to say it that way, but that's often where we start. We say, we've got a downtime problem, a throughput problem, a staffing problem, something that you might articulate why it matters, but at the end, you're really just stating a theme. By no means is it a problem statement. And you do some work, right? You do some work. It's, you might be socializing the problem, you might be studying it a little bit, and you do some work to get down to a problem statement, right? And so I think of these as just different steps along a continuum, different steps along the process. And I'll get back to that when I talk about, why I think we sometimes confuse breaking down the problem, but I'll come back to that. So in a lot of cases, sort of problem solving as a method sort of starts like here. But we really have to recognize it starts here. It starts with the selection of the theme. It selects just deciding to work on it, deciding to study it. This whole time you're in whatever work that is before you ever open up a template or a tool, and you're still doing problem solving. Sure, you might not have started a set of steps, but you're off you go, right? Back when we used to have A3 templates, or not that any of you don't, but we would write the theme up in the upper corner. So there'd be a theme and a name. That's all you kind of needed. Theme and a name, and then you can do the work to get to a problem statement. But we just start with that theme. Now often you still start to work that problem statement, and then you might decide, what, I'm gonna break it down into pieces. And I'm not going to go after this stuff. That stuff's going to be off limits, and I'm just going to go here. I'm going to focus on this aspect of it. So, is that a step in problem solving, or did we just get a refined problem statement? To me, that's semantics. That's just different ways to talk about it. But you've now narrowed the problem further as you've progressed along the path. Now, this is why some people consider it a step in problem solving. So you go to 8-step problem solving. It often sort of I'll say it doesn't really start here as a step, but really more starts here. But then once you have your problem statement, you do have to move on and break the problem down and figure out what part you're going to go after. But what is that broken down problem statement? It's really just a refined and more focused problem statement in the end. Now, this is why I say it's not just a step. These are integrated capabilities, breaking down the problem in the problem statement. Because if you're solving problems at the point of activity, if you have good standards, you can easily identify abnormal conditions or anomalies or gaps. Well, then you sort of start with a narrow problem statement, right? You start with a specific occurrence. and you don't have a need to go from that specific occurrence and go out super broad. You just take that specific occurrence and carry it forward. You've already broken down the problem in developing the problem statement early on because you see it as the small problem that it is. And there's no right or wrong. It sort of depends on where we are at t equals 0, at time equals 0. What are we starting with a small problem? We have no need to start to make it bigger than it needs to be, and we just carry forward and solve that problem. Well, we've already broken the problem down. We started with it broken down. And so the broken down problem and the problem statement are the same thing, and I don't need a step that says break the problem down. And then when I start with a theme, like we have too many defects on this part of the system, or we need to work on our throughput, well, then I've got to get to a problem statement, and I probably have to break the problem down more. So it's important to think about, first of all, how and when are we getting specific? How do we progress over time? There's no, to me, this is a fuzzy line. It's not just this, we hit a step and all of a sudden we've got a good problem statement. And understand that problem statements and breaking down the problem are highly related, interwoven capabilities. We have to think about how these two interplay, which comes first, which comes second. In a lot of ways, they come together. They're all part of the same process of getting us focused on something we can go solve. So I hope this is helpful, maybe helps you think through this a little differently, and continue your learning journey with solving problems. Thank you.